Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Dr. Monkey, where we laugh together and cry together, but hopefully take something away to treat each other a little better. Here's some interesting stories. One about OP's entitled mother-in-law who threw OP's family heirloom engagement ring down a storm drain. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Story 1. I have seen a lot of crazy people in my life, but my potential mother-in-law is the absolute worst person I have ever met. I have been with my boyfriend for 8 months now. First few months, everything was amazing. He was the sweetest and most caring man I've ever been with. He likes to surprise me with fun dates and flowers for no apparent reason. The biggest surprise of all, though, was when I met his mother. I met his parents for the first time a few months ago. The first thing mother-in-law said to me when I walked in the door was, "Are you Jewish?" I am not, and I am not particularly religious, but I was raised Catholic. Once I told her this, it was the beginning of the madness. She immediately stopped talking to me and acted as if I didn't exist. I was extremely nervous about meeting my boyfriend's parents, so this broke my heart. I was determined to make a good impression, so I kept trying to connect with her. This was a huge mistake, and I should have just let it go. Once we were all seated for dinner, she finally decided to try and make conversation. I have naturally red hair, and she asked me if my parents have the same color. I told her that I have the same hair as my mother. She then had the audacity to ask me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" I had no idea how to respond, and just sat there stunned. Seeing my reaction, she said, "Don't worry, I'll just ask my son about it later." I looked over at my boyfriend, who seemed equally as shocked, but he didn't say anything. She started to go on about my hair being too curly. She told me I really need to learn how to run a brush through my hair and to think about my appearance more when I'm out with her son. Then, when I didn't eat much at dinner, she gave me her version of a compliment. I was told that it was good I am watching what I eat because it would be a shame if I got any bigger. This was just my first meeting with this woman. As soon as I got into my car, I burst into tears until I got home. My boyfriend was texting and apologizing for his mother's behavior, but the damage was done. I told him I needed time to think. He went into an apology overload after this and started sending flowers to my office every day and leaving me messages begging me to talk to him. I finally agreed and we went out for dinner. He told me he spoke with his mother and her inappropriate comments, and she swore it would never happen again. With this reassurance, I decided to give it another chance. Fast forward 2 weeks to when he invited me to a family birthday party. This time I would be meeting his sisters and grandparents. His grandparents and sisters are awesome people. They asked me normal questions about my job, family, and friends. His mother seemed to be avoiding me throughout the evening, and honestly, I was okay with that. I went to grab something from my purse and noticed that it was not where I left it. I looked everywhere and I could not find it. I went to ask my boyfriend and he began to help me look. He got a strange look on his face when he quickly went upstairs. I could then hear a lot of yelling begin upstairs. He came back down holding my purse after a few minutes and told me that we were leaving. Once we got in the car, I asked him what was going on. His mother had taken my purse so that she could see my driver's license. She intended to try and run a background check on me. He had told me she had told them this earlier, but honestly had thought she was joking. I thought it was best if I avoided any of his family functions for the time being. This worked out great for a while and he went to any of his family parties alone. He would ask me each time before leaving if I was sure I didn't want to go, but I always declined. Last week his family had a family reunion, and he asked me to please come with them. I was very reluctant, but considering there would be so many people present, I didn't think she could pull anything. When we got there, everything was going great. I met his extended family and got to catch up with his sisters. His mother did seem to be shooting me death glares all night, but I brushed it off. Soon she came over and joined a table where I was seated out with his sisters and his cousins. The conversation was pleasant and we were talking about his sister's children. His sister has a daughter who is 12 and is the same age as my niece. I then showed his sister a picture of my niece on my phone. His mother took a look at the screen and began to laugh. She told me that she hopes if me and her son ever have children that they don't look like my niece. My niece is beautiful, by the way, and she's only 12 years old. What kind of monster attacks a 12-year-old child's appearance? This was my breaking point, and I went off like a volcano. I started to scream at her and told her she's one of the most evil persons I've ever had the disadvantage to meet. I told her if I ever did have children with her son, she can be certain she will never meet them, because hell is too far to travel. I am not 100% certain exactly everything I said, but from what his younger sister said, it was epic. She began to play the victim and wailed that I had just misunderstood her joke. My boyfriend came rushing over at this point and she threw herself into his arms telling him I am a horrible woman and he needed to throw me out right now. He told her that wasn't going to happen and to stop making a fool of herself. She seemed to accept this for a moment and sat back down. She just kept sobbing that I just didn't understand how to take a joke. Then something in her snapped as she noticed something that my boyfriend was holding in his hand, and began to have another meltdown. I didn't understand what was happening at this point, and just stood there watching a grown woman pitch a fit like a toddler. None of what she was saying made any sense to me as it was mostly just incoherent screaming, but I did pick up on many derogatory comments directed my way. My boyfriend then told me we were leaving, and told me to grab my things. As I started to get up, mother-in-law made a lunge from my boyfriend's hand and grabbed the small box he was holding. She then looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You will never have this ring, you little..." She ran outside and threw the box down a storm drain. Turns out my boyfriend was intending on proposing to me. He had just obtained his grandmother's ring while we were there at the reunion. His grandmother is completely heartbroken because now her ring is down a storm drain, instead of continuing on in the family, as she had always wanted. I don't know where to go from here. I am devastated, confused, and exhausted. Can I ask him never to see his mother again? Is that my place to say something like that? I am sorry that my story is so long, but I really needed to get this off my chest. You need to sit down with your boyfriend and explain that you're not going to tolerate that kind of nonsense. Y'all need to decide together how to handle her, starting with you having no contact with her, and him not sharing an ounce of information about you with her. Then you need to figure out how to survive the wedding, children, etc. Story 2. For context, my mom is an extremely toxic person. Ever since I can remember, my mom has threatened to kick me out. When I was little, if I misbehaved, it doesn't matter if it was a small mistake that any little kid would make, she'd force me to pack up my things in plastic bags, even going as far as to drive me to the police station to show me where she'd leave me if I continued to misbehave. My mom would always continuously act as if I was a difficult child to raise, mostly because of the mental health problems I developed due to her constantly mistreating me as a kid. It was extremely isolating as everyone around me believed I was a crazy demon spawn child, and she was the poor single mom trying her best to raise a terrible kid, due to the narrative my mom built around me. It was extremely psychologically tormenting to the point I even started to believe I was a demon spawn child that my mom wanted so desperately to paint me as. Now that I'm older and no longer idolize my mom as I used to, I really resent her and can see how she really isn't that good of a mom, or at least hasn't been that good of a mom to me. She blames everyone but herself for the reason I resent her now, and because of that, my mom honestly has split personalities that she doesn't show often, and another is a mask. No one, even therapists, never believed me when I explained the type of abuse my mom has put me through because of how good she is at keeping her mask. A few weeks ago, my mom got angry at me and had one of her outbursts, where she began hitting me, violently dragging me across the floor, and trying to force me out the front door. Mind you, it was extremely cold outside, and I only had a t-shirt on, so she was willing to just kick me out in the cold with nothing but a t-shirt and pajama pants on. I fought back against her as best I could. My mom goes to the gym regularly, and I am a hermit, so I'm in no way stronger than her physically, but despite this, she later tried to act like I was the one that initiated the fight. After a while of her trying to drag me out of the house and me struggling, she gives up and storms off, asking me why I'm trying to ruin her life, and that I can leave if I hate living with her so much. I'm literally 16, and my mom is speaking to me like I'm a grown adult capable of taking care of myself, when that's not the case. I'm dependent on my mom for basic things, yet she constantly treats these things like they're privileges, and she has the right to revoke them whenever she feels like it. I even asked her why she brought a child into this world if she was just going to treat me like crap, to which she refused to respond. After that happened, I told my aunt what happened, and she was extremely sad that my mom would treat me this bad. I never really revealed to my aunt before that my mom treated me this way because my mom would explicitly tell me not to tell my aunt anything about her, or my aunt didn't actually care about me, and she was just using me, which made me distance myself from my aunt, even though she has probably been a better parent guardian to me than my mom has ever been. She told me I was welcome to stay with her, so I began planning to stay with her. Meanwhile, my mom was still in her fit, telling me that I can live wherever I want, I just can't live with her anymore. But when it came to it, I asked her to give me permission to live with my aunt, since legally, I can't live with my aunt without my mom's permission. She wouldn't budge, and the next day she went and had a big fake apology about how she wants to change her actions and build our relationship back up. I told her that wasn't going to work out because if she ever wanted to fix our relationship, she was going to have to go and get therapy and work on herself first. She immediately got angry at me and refused to get help, which is how I knew her apology was never genuine and it was just damage control. Now I'm not sure what to do. I can't live with my mom anymore because it's so mentally and physically draining. Throughout the years, living with her has only worsened my depression and anxiety to the point I'm suicidal. I really don't know what to do at this point, and it's bad. My aunt has told me that legally she can press charges on my mom for the bruises, but I told her I didn't want her to do that since I know that's way too much, and my bruises weren't that bad anyways. But I don't know what to do anymore. I just really need advice on the best approach to fixing the relationship between me and my mom. Leave. Let your aunt press charges and move in with her. Your mom is only going to get worse. Save your life now. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend if she were in this situation. Be your own best friend today. Story 3. My dad. Well, he has been in and out of my life since I was 4. Before that, he would beat my mom, and some of my earliest memories are of us running off to an abused woman's shelter in Troy, Ohio. Fast forward to when I was 10. My mom remarried, and suddenly, since he has competition for the role of dad, he reappears. Once my stepdad died, days before my 15th birthday, he goes silent treatment again, but decides he wants my brother to live with him, and tells my sister and I we will risk being teen moms without a male role model. When my younger sister graduated high school, he still owed $64,000 in back child support. Fast forward to now. After getting married and having my 2 kids, I started to rebuild some sort of relationship with him. Last year, my kiddos stayed the weekend, and I gave them my Netflix so the kids could watch TV. This time, my oldest comes out and chooses a new name and pronouns, which he refuses to use. We told him we would go limited no contact until he can use them correctly, even explaining that my mom's side of the family and hubby's southern family don't have an issue with respecting kiddos' changes. I have tried explaining that he can afford his own. We even changed our passwords twice, and somehow he keeps getting in. He calls on Christmas for the passwords, because this time I locked it down and changed everything I could. He keeps asking when we will update and share. Make the new password your child's name. Whenever he bugs you for the password, simply say it's the name of child. Not the actual name, just the name that my eldest child or something. So he has to put in the correct name to use it. Every time he dead names, add a number or a symbol on the end and change the password to that. Story 4. My dad and mom have been separated, but we live together. Been that way for years. They have differing rooms and don't get along. Over the last 2 years, a huge hole has formed in the ground by my bed. right where you get off the bed is smack dab where the hole is, so I've covered it with a board to deal with it. My dad recently found a guy to replace my flooring and carpeting to fix the hole. My mom is furious because of this. She's mad it wasn't discussed with her to make sure that the hole should be fixed. I can understand she wants to pick the carpet. I told her we were in the talking stages still and she can help when it comes to that. But it's not enough. The guy hasn't even taken measurements yet, and she is acting like her whole house is being torn up. But it's my room that is getting the 3-foot by 3-foot hole fixed. She told me to stop protecting my dad. She said I was lying about things. Now she is acting all calm while I am visibly mad because of how she treated me, and all she was saying was, "Why are you acting like this?" Like the, "Oh, not me," gaslighting attitude. And it worked. I feel crazy. I was trying to fight for my right to not have a freaking hole in my floor. That's it. Now I just feel like I wronged my mother and should just move on and live with the dirty hole. Update. My dad said screw her opinion. He's getting it fixed whether she likes it or not. It matters how old you are and where you live. Children in the U. If the floor doesn't get fixed, it may be appropriate to call Child Protective Services. Still a lot of factors to consider. I am picturing rats getting in and other dirty issues. Well guys, that's all for today. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about OP's sister-in-law who lived through one of the most terrible things. She's innocent, but was about to go to jail because of cruel lies. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Monkey.